Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey guys, I have got a great guest for you today on Radio Bypass. We are thrilled to be joined by a guy whose singing voice I've listened to for many years now. We've got Mr. Rick Hughes joining us. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing very good. I'm very happy to be with you today.
Yeah, thank you for dropping by Radio Bypass. I really appreciate you taking some time for us. And I'm super stoked that you've got a new record coming out in just about a month, October 24th. You're releasing a solo record. It's called Redemption. And you recently released a single in advance of the record. And it was a cover of a killer Who song, one of my favorite Who tunes, The Real Me. And I think the version you guys do is fantastic, which we'll talk about a little bit. But I think the big news, the big splash you made are the players that you got involved on that track. I think that took a lot of people by surprise. So I thought maybe we'd start with that. If you guys caught the show a couple weeks ago, you heard me talking about it. If you missed it, or if somehow you don't know about this, because it's been in the news everywhere, on this track that Rick did of The Real Me, he's got a group of guys that supported Ozzy Osbourne around 1980, late 81, 82. He managed to get Brad Gillis, Rudy Sarzo, and Tommy Aldridge to play on the track. And everybody did a fantastic job. But how did that come about, Rick? I'm sure everybody wants to know that first and foremost.
Well, it all started with a suggestion. I was talking with my manager, and I was telling him, I was going, you know what? For the next album, I've been able to write me some songs here and there, but I really want something outside the box. So let's go for songwriters who are going to help me produce an album that's going to be hard rock, pop, everything. But for that, we need to go outside, and go for some. So the first person we got in touch with was Brad Gillis, through a friend of ours, Jesse Bradman, who used to be a keyboard player for my old band Saints and Sinners, the one after Sword. So Jesse introduced us to Brad Gillis, and he wrote a couple of songs for my album, and then we decided to go with a cover of the Who, The Real Me. So when it was time to record it, we came up with the idea of reuniting him with Rudy and Tommy, which they hadn't done since 36 years, something like that.
Right.
So it was more than a dream come true, because I never even dreamt that this would happen. Let me explain. Back in 1982, I was 19 years old. So those guys are like 5-10 years older than me. So they were in their 20s. So they were like at the peak of their career. They were playing with Ozzy. Right. So I went and saw those guys at the Montreal Forum. I went and I saw Tommy Aldridge play with Whitesnake because, like I said, I was younger, so I was following in their footsteps.
Sure.
And by the grace of God, man, by the grace of something bigger than me, I got them. And I mean, it's pure luck, if you ask me, because the timing's got to be good for them in order to say yes. They have to at some point know who I am and like me, to accept to play on my album. So anyways, sometimes in life you get the wrong end of the stick. Sometimes you get the good end of the stick, Right. And on this one, I thank my lucky stars for this one, man. I'm so blessed to have these guys on board. Like you said, it made a big splash, and we knew it would, because it's something. These guys are legends, and they play like monsters.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was great that not only did you get them to record on the track, but then you were able to do a video together as well. That doesn't always come together either. Getting the recording.
That's even harder.
Exactly.
That's even harder.
Exactly.
Because to get them in the studio, that's natural for them to be in the studio to record a Who song, but to have their image on and I'm from Canada, they're from America, so we had to find a perfect spot where we could all be together and record the video. So like I said, man, I thank my lucky star for this one, because when we started to approach them for the recording of the song, I was going like this. And then when it was yes, it's wow, man, when we'll announce that, people are going to go, wow, he got them back together.
Yeah.
And when it was time for the video, then I was like this.
Right.
And it came about. So thanks to my lucky star.
That's awesome. And for those that are only listening, Rick was showing crossed fingers. That's how lucky he was to get this to happen.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I have to ask this because when I listen to the song, and I've listened to it more than once now, and obviously I know the original very well. Right at about 2 minutes and 59 seconds into the song, it kind of goes off with a guitar with Brad, and it's not note for note what happened when the Who did it. At that juncture, you guys have a little twist on it that makes it your own. And I'm wondering, whose idea was it? Did Brad come up with that, where it starts at right about 2 minutes and 59 seconds? Because that guitar work right in there for about the next 30 seconds or so, a little less, maybe 20. It's so cool because it's different than the original, but it sounds so killer. So I was wondering who came up with that idea.
Absolute great question. It's my friend and producer, John Webster. John Webster is such a power station for any singer. I mean, this guy is the best producer I've ever worked in my life. So he came up with the idea of having Brad feature as a excellent guitar work with his whammy bar and all. You hear the sound. This guy's amazing. His guitar talks. When a solo is not only a solo with Brad. It's like words, colors. It's amazing. I love that part. I agree with you that this was a great idea, and it was John Webster's idea.
All right. Well, John Webster, if you watch this, I praise you, sir. Because I just love that change. I'm like, now this is cool, because doing a cover, you got two ways you could go, right? You can do an exact imprint, which is cool, but then you can also do something that's a little outside the box, and that's what this was, and it works, and it's just great. So yeah, I have a lot of praise for that. I love that.
But let's keep in mind that we took great pride in respecting Pete Townshend's masterpiece, because this song is a masterpiece. It's him that wrote everything on this song, right. Words and music. So yeah, we kept the masterpiece together. It's the same, but like you said, at a part we had to showcase Brad Gillis' guitar solo. But yeah, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I was really impressed with that. Of course, I know Brad's a killer player, of course, but that was well thought out. So good job, John. And then Brad also. So you had the excitement of having Brad, Rudy, and Tommy on that track, but then Brad also plays on some more of the record, and I believe wrote one of the songs. Is that right?
Absolutely right. He wrote 2 songs on the album. Yeah. So he plays on 3 songs. So it's triple the pleasure, because right. The songs he wrote for the album are amazing. And they're some of my favorite songs of the album, the ones that he wrote. Yeah.
And one of those is "Shake My Soul," right?
Yeah.
Did he write that himself, that song?
He wrote that himself with Jesse Bradman that I was talking about from Saints and Sinners. And I have to admit that for now, this is my favorite song of the album.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in a couple of months it's going to be another one. But right now, when I listen to the album and I get to shake my soul, I just crank it up.
Right, right. Yeah, and I have to, full disclosure here, you guys that are listening to this, October 24th, run, don't walk to buy this record because it's just great. I feel privileged that I got a chance to hear the entire record already, and it's just really, really well done. And that song, yes, it's high up on my current list, and I'm like you, as I have repeated listenings, I'll have different favorites along the way. That's how I always am with every album. I have my early one that hits me, and then as I go through repeated listenings, I come up with others. But I got to tell you, that song, "The Will of the Gun," that song right now is my number one.
Wow.
That song's beautiful, and it's so beautiful, but it's also makes me sad that it's so relevant to our world today. From that standpoint, it makes me sad, if you know what I mean, because it's a shame that we're in a place where the will of the gun is the thing, you know. But the song's just beautiful. So that right now, that's my number one.
Yeah, and I agree with what you just said, but I'm very, very, I'm so not political. Redemption. What the album is called Redemption is because of songs like Will of the Gun, you know. So to me, redemption, to getting older, you kind of make peace with a lot of stuff, you know. So this song is to help people making peace with some stuff, you know. That's what music does to me. If an artist I like or I love puts out a new album, I'm gonna listen to the lyrics, and I won't just listen to the lyrics. I'll read between the lines.
Right.
Because if you take something like to its word, then sometimes you're misguided. You have to read between the lines and search for peace, not for a debate or who's right, who's wrong. You know, just find peace. You know, That's my way of life.
Yeah, no, that's a good way. I wish everyone were like that, because I'm the same way, and I also like to entertain. When you say about reading between the lines, I like to entertain. You know, okay, this could mean this, or it could mean this. You know, I like to see different potential viewpoints too, which is one of the problems we have now. Nobody wants to consider multiple viewpoints. I'm still that way, though. I still like to. I don't think any one thing is necessarily it until I've thought through all scenarios of whatever it might be that I'm thinking about. So it's the same with the music. You know, I'll take whatever I interpret that song to mean to me is great, but it may not be what the songwriter intended, perhaps, you know. But that's one of the beautiful things about music, and for songwriters, I think, is that they can express whatever they're feeling, but touch people in different ways, because there'll be perhaps different interpretations, you know. And I think that's great.
Absolutely, and I'm surprised. I'm happily surprised that this is your favorite song, because it's so different from the other songs. And if you name me another song, I'm going to tell you I'm happy that you like this one, because it's so different from the other ones. What I'm trying to say is that, to me, rock music is not just a genre. It's a family. In rock music, you got blues, you got hard rock, you got soft rock, you got country, you got ballads, you got metal, it's rock. So my personal idols are Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page is one of my heroes. If you listen to Led Zeppelin 1, and in a span of 10 years, you listen to Into the Outdoors, I mean, in between Into the Outdoors and Led Zeppelin 1, you have everything. Everything's there. You
Yep.
got blues, country, hard rock, metal. Everything's there, man.
Hmm.
And they're my favorite band. So that's why if I record an album, I try to treat every song differently. So when the listener, if the listeners is a bit like me, then he's gonna like it because that's the way I love music. I love to, like you said earlier, listen to me. When we used to listen to AM radio, there was, like you said earlier, there was Frank Sinatra playing, and the next song after that was Stairway to Heaven.
Right.
That was amazing. I mean, come on, give me some stuff. I love rap, I love rock, I love everything. So, anyways,
Right.
that's what I tried to do with this album.
Well, and you've achieved that, and that's something that probably it's a good time to talk about it. Is, you know, obviously I know you from the band Sword, and that to me, which we'll talk about Sword in a little bit, I guess, because to me that was like the Canadian version of the new wave of British heavy metal to my ears. I love that stuff, and I love those first two records, '86 and '88. But so and I don't get to experience you here in the United States as much as I would like to. So when I heard about this record, I wasn't sure what to expect, right? And then of course my first taste is the real me. Okay, yeah, good hard rock song. So my expectation at that moment is, oh, this is probably going to just be a cool hard rock record. And then when I got the chance to listen to it, there's all these flavors. And even including you saying a song in your native French there as well. And even though I have a hard enough time with English, let alone knowing anything in French, right? But even that song, when I listen to it, I'm like, this is amazing. Even though I don't know a single thing you're singing about, the tonality and the passion I could feel coming through the vocal was fantastic. But anyway, what I love about the record is that it is old AM radio, because you've got, what's near and dear to your heart surely is metal. Obviously, you're a big metal fan like I am, and a hard rock guy, but you also appreciate a lot of other things. And this record covers everything. I mean, it opens with Dead End Road, which to me had a little bit of Springsteen Mellencamp flavor to it, I thought. I don't know if you feel that way as well, but it's definitely not Judas Priest starting off the record, and so right away for me it sucked me in. I'm like, wow, what else has this record got to offer? And I fell in love as each track played. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I love that there is this variety on this record. And like I said, even though I don't speak a lick of French or understand a single French word, even that song was still amazing. And I guess that's one of the things that I thought about with asking you too, is when I listened through this whole record as a whole entity, not as just a piece here, a piece there. It sounds to me like it's just a very personal record, whether you wrote the song or somebody else wrote it and you're performing it. It sounds like it all deeply resonates with you. Am I picking up on that? I mean, is that right? Does this feel like a deeply personal record to you?
Oh yeah, it's the most personal record I've ever did. Um, just the title, Redemption. I mean, as you get older, you have to have some kind of redemption towards yourself, towards everything you've done, so that the rest of the road will just be enjoyment, So to me, this album is like the icing on the cake. I had a great life. I had a superb career. I was lucky to tour with Metallica, Alice Cooper, Bon Jovi. I toured with Motorhead. I was lucky and to do all those things, And now I had the chance to work with John Webster, who produced the album, and some songwriters that wrote songs especially for the album. And yeah, it reflects exactly who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And another interesting guest on this record that I think maybe people wouldn't expect is you've got Robby Krieger from The Doors on a track. So just like Brad Gillis, I was curious when I heard Robby how that came about too.
And the thing about Robby Krieger is that when I was 15 years old, I felt different from everybody else, because I didn't know at that time that I was a bleeding heart artist, So I felt like a stranger in a strange land. And then I started to listen to The Doors. And that's when I became a man. That's when I knew I had my gang, My
Right.
gang was The Doors, Jim Morrison, everything you would say, I would read between the lines. I would listen to his words, and then I became a man. And The Doors had such an influence on my life. So never in my wildest dream would I thought that one day Robby Krieger would play on my record. So how did it came about? So we recorded the album in Vancouver at what used to be called the Little Mountain Studio.
Right.
With John Webster, but we had some additional recordings to do in Los Angeles. So while in Los Angeles, I was told that Robby Krieger had a recording studio. So I said, "Let's go there, man. He's one of my idols." So we went there to his studio. We recorded some vocals, and while I was there, I said to my manager, I said, "The song you're talking about on the album." It's a little bit Roadhouse Blues type of song. So why don't we get Robby Krieger to play on it? He says, okay, wait a minute, Rick. We got the other guys. We got this guy. We got this guy. Now you're aiming high. I says, I know, but I already thanked my lucky star. So I'm grateful. So when you're grateful, usually it comes back to you. So it did. So while we were in the studio recording, I said that to my manager. He contacted Robby's manager, which was easy because you were in a studio.
Right.
And again, he said yes. And man, I couldn't be happier. This song is so amazing. So when the song starts, you hear it's just, he starts with a slide. He goes, da-now, da-now. I'm a fan, So as soon as I heard the track he was proposing to do on the album, I said, man, that's it. That's what we need, because that's the Robby Krieger sound. People will recognize it.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I did right away. I didn't even realize it was him at first because I hadn't read through any of the notes that I had for the record. And I heard that. I'm like, man, this sounds Doorsy, is how I thought about it. His name didn't immediately come to my mind at that moment, but that was what I thought. And then I looked through, I'm like, oh. And of course, it's a song title that I can't pronounce because I'll butcher it, but you can say the name of it properly.
Yeah, the song title, because there's 10 songs on the album. And I wanted, because I have a nice following here in Quebec, and it's French speaking. And some kind of following in France too. So I said, and by the way, I want to have a couple of songs in French. So my producer would go, not my producer, but yeah, one of my executive producer would say, is it an English album or a French album? I said, it's both. It's
Right.
everything, man. That's what I am. In total, there's 3 songs that are in French. 1 is bilingual, 2 is totally French.
Right.
And this one is called Dans la peau. Dans la peau.
Thank you. I wasn't, I kept going, I'm like, and I could hear what you're singing, but I'm like, I don't know if I can say it correctly.
So you want to know what it means?
Yes, I do.
It means in the skin, underneath the skin, dans la Po means skin.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
French word. Po is
Yeah. Po is skin.
yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool that you got him to play on that. Because yeah, again, another great track. I was like, man, this whole record just keeps killing me. And then you
But
had,
we should mention, sorry to interrupt, but
no, go
because
ahead.
because we're talking about that song Dans la peau, we should mention Amy Keys.
Well,
because
that's what I was going to bring up next because you had I had the note here about Johnny Halliday and Amy Keys. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with either one of them. But then when I heard her vocal, I'm like, oh my God, why have I not heard of this girl before? She did a fantastic job too.
she's such an amazing singer. I mean, she worked with Quincy Jones. She worked with Sting, Peter Gabriel, name it, man. She's one of the most renowned chorists on the planet. So Johnny Halliday is like the Elvis Presley of France.
Okay.
He's bigger. He died in 2017. It's bigger than life. And this was his favorite chorus that he would, when he would go on tour, she was always there doing the duos with him because he would record duos with Celine Dion, and because he was like the Elvis Presley of France. Big, big, big.
Right.
And he would sing a lot with her. So this song was written for him and her. He was supposed to record this with Amy Keys. So he died. They never got to do it. So when I was looking for song, the guy that wrote that song, his name is Jerry Stober. He's the guy that wrote the song Dead End Road.
Okay.
He wrote a couple of songs on the album as well. So he proposed it to me. He says, I know you're a fan of Johnny Halliday. I said, yeah. He says, well, I got a song he was supposed to do. Do you know Amy Keys? I said, of course I do. He says, well, she sings with him on the demo, but I'm sure she would accept to do it with you. So again, my lucky star.
Yeah. Yeah. Lightning is striking all over the place for you in a positive way.
I heard a phrase once, and it went like, oh man, I heard a phrase once, and it went like that. It went, you know, who are the lucky people in life? You know who they are?
I'm listening.
Those that work hard. So you know the saying that you make your own luck?
Right.
That's what it means. If you work hard, if you believe in what you're doing, then it's supposed to happen.
Right.
But it has to come with hard work and truly believing in what you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it obviously worked for you, that's for sure. Because, yeah, like I say, I feel bad that I'm not familiar with her, but now that I am, I won't forget her name. I mean, I was blown away by her performance on this. It was really, really good. Well, that's interesting. That's how that song came about. Okay, and then I was curious. You mentioned that you had recorded this at what was Little Mountain Studios, and of course, back in the late '80s and into the early '90s. So many records that I love came out of there. You had 3 Aerosmith albums, you had some Bon Jovi, of course, Metallica's huge Black album came out of there. Bob Rock did a lot of work with Bruce Fairbairn at that studio. And then I was sad when I saw it had closed down. And now, but it is reopened with some new folks, same building. But I was curious, is any of that gear that was used back then, is that still in that studio, any of the old gear?
Yeah, the studio hasn't changed one iota. So it's exactly the way it was when Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, when they were out there. Everything's there. Even the pictures on the wall are the same.
Oh, that's good. Because when a studio closes, you're never sure did all the equipment get sold off or whatever. Because the records that came out of there at that time, I thought were the best sounding records of that time period. So I just thought that there's something magical about that studio. That was my my belief as a listener, and being kind of fussy about how records sound. I liked the way those were produced there and the sound coming out of there. And I know it's always mainly the musicians that make the magic, but sometimes it is the room the material's recorded in that makes some of that magic too.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, John Webster, that's like his playground. He worked there all his life. So yeah, you got a keen ear, because it's true that lots of time you have to have a good performance by the musician, but the recording studio has got a lot to do with it too. So if your producer is used to working in a certain room with certain equipment, then it shows when it's time to mix, because it all has to do with the performance and the way it's recorded.
Right.
Just think about Led Zeppelin 1.
Mm-hmm.
Led Zeppelin 1 was recorded in like 36 hours.
Right.
And we're still talking about it.
Yep. And Led Zeppelin 2 also, if I remember correctly, that was a super short time span that was recorded in also.
Yeah. Jimmy Page
been out on the road a lot too. So, I mean, it had to be some tired bodies going into that studio when they were recording that stuff too. But yeah.
Jimmy Page knew how to record a good drum and a voice, a lead vocal, because man, it's incredible. It had never been surpassed. Mm-hmm. And it was done in such a small amount of time. Think about that.
Right.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And no digital editing back then either. So putting those songs together took a lot more work than it does today.
Absolutely. It's even hard to imagine that what Jimmy Page did with Zeppelin 1 and 2. I mean, to this day, this is my two favorite albums. Yeah.
I'm huge on Zeppelin also. And yeah, a lot of that credit does go to Jimmy Page for sure. Okay, well, before we run out of time here, a couple of things I just wanted to also touch on. So we're going to move to the past just a tiny bit. Another thing I wanted to tell you is back in I think it was 2021, you recorded with Jeff Scott Soto and David Ellefson a version of Riot's Swords and Tequila, and
yeah.
And I told David this at the time because he was on this show when that was coming out. How great that was! Your performance on that was killer. I love that version of Swords and Tequila. So since I'm having it here today, I was like, I got to remember to tell him how much I liked that performance. That was great.
Thank you so much. David Ellefson is such a cool guy. He's such a gentleman. I love Dave.
Yeah, no, good guy for sure. And then I wanted to make sure that we at least touched on Sword, because that was the band, obviously, that made me know who you are to this day. And you had released a couple of records originally. Then later on, there was a little bit more live record, and I think a greatest hits package came out at some point. But then more recently, it's been about 3 years now. You had another record come out that was, I believe, just called 3, because I think it might have had a couple of names depending on where it was released, because In Command was first released as a single in 2020, but then I believe the full record came out like in 2022. And that In Command, by the way, great song. But now I haven't heard any more about any more Sword material since then. So obviously you've got work ahead of you to promote this well-deserved Rick Hughes album. But coming down the road, is there any more Sword music perhaps coming our way?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Last night, I was in rehearsals with Sword last night, because we're doing a show here in Montreal on the 18th of October. So these guys are my pal. I mean, we've been friends since high school. The drummer is my brother.
Right.
Sword, yeah. Sword is the same band since the 1980s. We haven't changed. It's the same member. So we talk to each other like boyfriend and girlfriends. I mean,
Sure.
We argue on petty stuff, and sometimes we agree on it. I mean, it's forever. A sword will be forever. I mean, sometimes it'll take time before we release an album because we don't believe in and I'm going to speak for myself. I don't believe in redoing what I already did, you know?
Mhm.
That's why I'm a big Zeppelin fan, I guess.
Right.
I like to. So Sword 3 is a metal album, but if you compare it to our second and our first album, it's got nothing to do with it. To me, it's totally different. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, but it is different. But I attribute it mainly just to the times, right? Because 2022 is a little bit different in how everything is done than 1986. You know, so
Yeah.
But to me, it still had that classic sound that we know to be Sword, just in the modern era. That's what I thought. But I thought it was a really solid record. And that first record, wondering if you have, wondering if you have a favorite song off of that record, because I've got two that are my favorites from that first album. Do you have a favorite?
The very first Sword album?
Metalize?
I'd say my two favorite songs are Dare to Spit. Oh, yeah, Metalize, Dare to Spit, and I like a lot The End of the Night.
Interesting. Okay, well, we matched on one because my two favorites are The End of the Night and Children of Heaven is my other. Those are my two favorites.
Children of Heaven is the most streamed song of Sword's catalog. So it's the favorite. It's the favorite amongst fans. That's for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, I was just curious. And then we mentioned your brother being, your bandmate in Sword. We should also mention you have another talented sibling that is on the Redemption album as well. Your sister is participating in this record too, right?
Yeah, my sister Lulu Hughes. She's a great singer, talented, very well known here in Quebec. And I'm so happy that she's on the album. I love my little sister.
It's nice. It's nice. Yeah, I figure since we mentioned your brother, we better mention her as well, because I think that's pretty cool. All right, so going back to the present, so we've got The Real Me out there. Obviously, it's struck a chord with many people because I've seen lots of good write-ups about that song. But we still got a month till Redemption is released. Will there be another single coming out in advance of the record?
Yes, there's going to be a couple of singles. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
We look at the first single. We've printed some vinyls like in the old days, 45, with the big O, and there's a B-side. The B-side will be the second single of the album for the English market, which is the song "Carry the Torch," written by Brad Gillis.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I should mention that "Carry the Torch" was written by David Sykes, too. Wrote that song with Brad Gillis. David Sykes, who played with Boston for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we've got more coming before the record. Record again, Redemption, out October 24th. And this is always a question I ask, even though I know it's pretty much impossible these days. But any chance of you coming to the United States and supporting this record with some live dates?
A lot of chance. I'm pushing for that, and that's my reason one of my reasons to live is to be on stage. I love live music. I love creating an album and putting everything together so we can after that go on stage, and make the album live through the speakers with a live audience. So we're definitely gonna tour the US next year.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting because usually I hear, well, I don't know, because everything's so cost prohibitive these days So a lot of times the answer is, well, maybe one-offs here and there. But yeah, if you can do that, that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah, you can count on that.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So, guys, keep an eye. Your website is still rickhughes.co, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So keep an eye on rickhughes.co. You can also obviously follow his social media accounts so that we all know when this tour commences sometime in 2026, then it sounds like.
That's perfect.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I've eaten up a lot of time here. Is there anything else that you'd like people to know about Redemption before we wrap things up here?
Well, I think we covered everything, but like you said, this is the kind of album where I explore different genre of music, from pop rock ballad to very hard rock and song. So that's the kind of album where you don't have to change from one record to another record to hear a different style of genre and always staying in the rock genre. So that's it, man. If you like that type of album, this is the album for you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, and I concur with that. This record is great, everybody. Definitely check it out. Obviously, in the coming months, weeks, you'll hear on our Saturday show, we'll certainly be featuring songs from it. But get yourself a copy. Support rock and roll.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Rick, thank you so much for taking time for Radio Bypass. I'm going to play The Real Me right after we stop talking here. And then I thought I'd go back to that first Sword record and throw a Sword song in here, too. So since we both agree that The End of the Night is one of our favorites, should I play that one?
Oh, yeah. Go right ahead. That'd be perfect.
All right, everybody. Rick Hughes. New album, Redemption, October 24th. Check it out. It's killer. And more Sword music to look forward to in the future as well. And again, thank you, Rick. And here is Rick Hughes helped out by Rudy Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, Brad Gillis, a killer version of The Real Me.
Can you see the real me? Your satanic eyes whispering, dancing to screaming. You look to the left and you look to the right. There is no escape but you're willing to fight to seek the light of the blind man. Oh no, the beast is out to get me. God knows this street turned out to be the end of the night. The days and years are passing by, sweat my tears of childish eyes, changes, growing older. I think of death and suicide, I hear a scream inside my mind remains past without future. Oh no, dreams have turned to nightmares. God knows this street turned out to be the end of the night. Now try to save your life. It's not to fear this evil you love. But if it gives you one more chance to live, you'll be born again. So when you think your life's a mess, burn and pray with your final rest. Beware, you're marked by the number. Until your soul believes is weak, you lose control to feel the heat, but still we'll keep on turning.